You will be aware of the bolstered security today. Fears that perhaps there might be some trouble from Bolsonaro's supporters. Do you expect kind of perhaps protest more? Perhaps an attempted coup around today's swearing in.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here with you again. Uh, Actually, we I can say I expect, but I can say that it would not be a surprise as well, because as you remember, during the presidential campaign, Bolsonaro was attacked himself with a knife from one of Lula's supporters. So Bolsonaro supporters now, they're not happy with they don't accept Lula. Lula was elected with a very tight margin. I mean, by 2 million votes, which it's about a medium-sized capital in Brazil. So he has a huge rate of rejection above him, it will be a very challenging government for him because of that.
Well, incidentally, Fernando, some of the news that came in today was that a man had been arrested carrying an explosive device as he tried to get access to the esplanade where, the president was. I mean, in terms of political challenges, let's think about those, because it will be a lot of work for Lula as this third presidency takes place. It's a different time, a different context. The country may be getting back on track after several years of Jair Bolsonaro.
Well, we expect so. We expect that he can make a good government, but he's taking power in a very different condition from his first term. When he was first elected in Brazil, we were facing a commodity boom. So economically wise, things were very easy, very good for Brazil and for Lula in his first term. Now he's taking office in a very different context, by marked by war in Ukraine and still some reflex from COVID. So he's going to have a huge challenge. And besides the fact that 53% of the Congress is right, it was elected, is taking power, it's being empowered today alongside with him. So he's going to have to rule a country very divided, and on which the Congress is totally opposed to him. He's going to have a lot of ability to handle that.
You use the key word, Fernando, divided there, and the scenes will come to mind of that division under Jair Bolsonaro. Do you think that Lula, not is he the man for the job? I mean, it's the third term in office for him. Is he capable of uniting the country after such division?
I hope so, but I have many doubts of it, because his rejection is very high. You must remember that he has a very huge historic of corruption behind him, which he was not declared innocent from them. The files were dropped against him only by a case of lack of jurisdiction, and not because he was declared innocent. That's why people are very revolted. They don't accept him as a president, because they see him as convicted ruling a country.
I want to get a sense from you. This will be the first time since 1985 that a president hasn't been there to hand over officially the reins of the country to his, successor. What do you make of Bolsonaro, heading off to Florida and not being there for today's inauguration?
Well, as you know, Jair Bolsonaro is a very polemical person, and from the start, he made his campaign to the presidential as being totally against the system, anti-system, anti-politicians, anti-everything. People normally do. So I'm not surprised that he does not want to handle this presidential title to Lula, as he thinks that the whole system was against him during the campaign. That's the reason why he lost. So coming from him, it's not a surprise for me.
I mean, just a final question for you, briefly. We've seen in America, Donald Trump remaining on the political scene in some respects. Do we think that this is the end of Bolsonaro politically? Do we expect him to maybe come back in the future, in a different kind of role?
Very likely. Bolsonaro has a lot of, he's backed by a lot of people. Again, he had almost 58 million votes. people who didn't want Lula. That's pretty much 50%, 49.1% of the votes. So I won't be surprised if those votes would come back again to him in another time for another role or another, just another hit to the presidential election again.
All right, Fernando, as you speak, we're watching images of Lula da Silva in Congress, having spoken there and, shaking hands, hugging members of his cabinet. Speaking to us today on France 24. Thanks very much for your time, Fernando Santiago.